Hello there, my fellow sardiners and sardinettes. And we're just gonna jump right into it today. King Oscar, sardines and extra virgin olive oil. It's a classic. You may not know a little bit of lore between King Oscar brand. This is King Oscar of Norway. And you may be able to read here underneath, it says by special royal permission. That's because back in, I believe, 1907, or 1902, I apologize, 1902, King Oscar, King of Norway at the time, granted this brand to use his likeness and name on the cover. And that is still in effect today, over 100 years later. So it is a product of Norway, although it is owned and operated by a Thailand seafood conglomerate. But as far as I can tell, it has had no effect on the quality of the product. The best buy date is December 2024, so we definitely are ahead of the curve on this one. So you may notice, yes, the can is inside of a plastic wrapping. That is just so they can have the branding. Very eye-catching. Unlike our last review of the Polar, which the can itself was very, very cool to look at, and actually had, you may remember, the clear top that lets you look straight into the sardines themselves. It's actually a very, very interesting marketing thing. Made me buy it, so it certainly works. All right, and we have lot number 9353, and this particular can was canned at exactly 6:50 in the afternoon. So it was definitely on the way out. Let's see if that has any effect on the quality. So we're gonna do a little demonstration for you people, my sardiners, of how to open a can of sardines. Now you may think it is simple, and it is once you get the handle of it. So it's a snap top. You just pull it back. You may or may not recognize this as the type of can that Tom used in Tom and Jerry. I'm sorry, Jerry used in Tom and Jerry, the little mouse, to sleep in every night. You may or may not recognize that, but that was a sardine can. And so what you do, let's check from this way, is you just pop the top. Oh, a little spillage, but none on the table. God bless. And then you just pull, but you go very slowly, very deliberately. Apply constant pressure. See, you gotta be a little careful with that. And then you get to the very end here. What you don't want is for the can to snap off. Perfect. And get all of the oils and juices everywhere. Because not everyone is a fan of sardines, which everyone, is accustomed to their own taste. So that is completely fair. Okay. Well, what we've got here, pretty nice. Double layer of sardines here in olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I do not believe it is first cold press, however. So it's not top of the line quality of olive oil, but it's certainly better than these things are sometimes packed in vegetable oil, sunflower oil, but it's olive oil. So it's definitely, just being olive oil itself helps the quality. Now, I'll say this much. These sardines are a little small compared to the last ones. These are definitely a little bit smaller. How about to check the firmness? Firmness isn't bad. It's quite comparable to the last one of the Polar. Let's try one. Okay. Yep. These are anchovies, that is for sure. or I'm sorry, sardines. We'll do an anchovy review someday. Anchovies are quite good. Very high in sodium though. So unless you're doing a keto diet, you have to be careful when you eat those. Oh, this one's much larger than the last one. Much longer. I'll say this, the firmness on the last one wasn't bad. But the firmness wasn't extremely high. As the fish wasn't falling apart as you were holding it, which is always the goal. But the meat itself wasn't exactly firm. Slightly mushy, but it keeps its structure. These are much fishier than the last ones. The polar. I highly recommend the polar. If you haven't seen that video, you should. I highly recommend you go watch that video because that brand was very good. Now, if you don't like smoked, if you don't like smoky flavor, you won't like those. However, if you like fish, these are quite good. I know what a couple of my other sardine advocates like to do is they like to empty out. This is usually what I do as well, off camera, when I eat these for my own pleasure. Is they pour out all of the excess oil within the can, and then they pour in their own olive oil. Their own, the olive oil they have at their house is usually first cold press extra virgin olive oil, usually from Sardines or Sicily. And then they also, on top of that, put in a couple of squirts of lime juice or lemon juice. I have done this before. It is quite good. You have to be careful with how much lemon juice you put in, because it can overpower and just cause it to be too sour. However, that is a very good alternative to people who simply don't enjoy inherently the fishy taste. But if you do enjoy the fishy taste, just the taste of fish in general, you'll definitely like these. I will say this though, these are not salty. These are not very salty at all. This tastes very fishy. Very, very fishy. It's not a problem for me, as I enjoy the taste quite a lot. But it's certainly, for those who haven't grown up around it, or simply just don't have a taste for it, it may very well be an acquired taste. But it's very good. Once you are able to overcome the texture, which some people have a problem with, and the taste, it's certainly an acquired taste all around. Like the smell, some people hate it. Like I was helping one of my close friends move, I believe it was yesterday, and he forced us outside to eat it, which absolutely was not a problem. And it's perfectly understandable, as it's a very strong smell, and if you're unaccustomed to it, it can smell quite strong, quite nasty. But someone who's very used to it, it can quickly just become background noise. Quite good. Let's see how many fish are in this can. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 18 to 20 fish in this can. There's quite a lot. And each one of these cans is a serving size in of itself. And so what I usually like to do is, for a meal, that one kind of fell apart. Is you have to be careful. Not too much with sardines, but other canned fish in general, is they can be very high in sodium. Like I was talking about before, the anchovies. They can be very high in sodium, which is why these types of canned products are very popular with the keto diet is because these fish are very high in saturated fat, monosaturated fat. And among those types of fats is omega-3, which is extremely good for you. And most people in America have a high deficiency in omega-3 fatty acids. And that's very bad, as omega-3 fatty acids dictate a lot of brain power in general. They allow you to go to sleep better, as they facilitate the manufacture of testosterone and melatonin. So it allows you to burn fat, which then causes you to get tired, which causes your body to feel tired, which causes you to go to bed better. Because when you feel tired, even if you medicate yourself, it can be hard to fall asleep if you don't feel naturally tired from melatonin, from naturally caused melatonin seeping in, being diffused through your brain over the course of a couple hours before bed. Yeah. So they're very healthy. I won't get too much into the science of it in this video, but maybe I'll do a separate video. I'll do a separate video about the health benefits of eating canned seafood on the keto, or just in general. Might do some pros and cons. I'll tell you this though. Anchovies, I'm sorry, not anchovies. I got anchovies on the brain today. These sardines have no cons, absolutely no cons. You can eat nothing but sardines for the rest of your life and you'll be fine. It is not something like frontier starvation, if you have ever heard of that term, where that term comes from a history of frontiersmen starving to death, although they were perfectly healthy. Now, how that happens is they were eating nothing but rabbits. And you may think, well, how is that possibly a problem? Rabbits have very little to 0% body fat. Like about 2 to 0% body fat. They have almost no body fat on mass, no body fat mass. And so what would happen is these frontiersmen would eat nothing but rabbits. And then they would starve to death. They would die from fat deficiency. They would have no fat in their diet because they would eat the rabbits for the protein and meat. And then they would have whatever fauna is around. Plants, vegetables, berries, whatever's around. Wheat, barley. And so they would die. It was very unfortunate. And only with later science they figure out that was what's going on with nutritionists. But as I was saying, with stuff like sardines, lost a little bit there. Very healthy, and they have high amounts of fat. Well, not high amounts of fat, but they have good amounts of healthy fat. Very, very healthy fat. This isn't going to have things like polysaturated fat, which you'll find in stuff like chicken, red meat especially, which is not as good for you as for monosaturated fat. So, sardines are very healthy. I'll do a separate video on the health benefits of sardines and just canned seafood in general. Maybe I'll do one on the keto diet. But yeah, King Oscar sardines. Oh, where's his face? See it in the reflection a little bit. King Oscar sardines and extra virgin olive oil. I wouldn't recommend these for a beginner. I would recommend watching my previous video on the polar sardines. I believe beginners will love those. And then they can break out into more just vanilla sardines like King Oscar. And then they can even break out into just sardines and brine or just spring water. I'll do a review on those very soon. But yeah, highly recommend it. If you have a taste for sardines, highly recommend it. If you don't have a taste for sardines, as everyone needs to start somewhere with these types of healthy foods. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And keep a lookout for the next video. Thank you.